Hello Internet. It's the end of 2014 already, and I can hardly believe that. But anyway, this is my video of my favorite albums of 2014. For me personally, 2014 wasn't really like my favorite year where all my favorite albums came out. But nonetheless, there were some really great releases, and I'm going to talk about two sort of more in-depth today, but there was just more like quantity versus quality I found of releases in 2014. There's lots of great releases, but I mean, I can't really focus and dissect each one. So by far, probably my favorite album, it ties with another, but my favorite album that came out in 2014, early 2014, was Against Me's Transgender Dysphoria Blues. This album is honestly, it's amazing, and I don't even know how to be able to put it into words because it's so amazing. It's true art. Like, you can tell that the lead singer, Laura Jane Grace, has put her heart and soul into this album, and it's really, it's relatable. I was just kind of the other day even just going through YouTube looking at comments, which is probably the stupidest thing I could ever do, and I was looking and like, you know, sort of like critics of this album, and by critics, of course, I mean like 30-year-old transphobes that still live in their mother's basement. They were just kind of like, this is unrelatable, this shit is not, like, I don't get it, I don't understand this album. And it's like, I think truly, even if it's something that's not relatable to you, or whatever, I think in a way it can be related to, because it's just an expression, and it's just a statement, and it's just, honestly, in this day and age, this is the album that needs to come out. This is just a huge leap forward, I think, for the trans community, really. Because it's just honest, it's honest, it's raw, and it's a masterpiece. And I've never heard a punk album with so much soul in it. You just listen to it, and I can't even explain it. It's just flawless, and it's incredible, and it's perfect. Favorite tracks from the album should be Black Me Out, Transgender Dysphoria Blues, Fuck My Life 666. I don't even know, it's just a solid album, and if you haven't given it a listen, I highly recommend it. It's just an album you have to hear it before you die, and it's not even the best album of 2014, it's probably one of the best records I have listened to in my entire life. Probably my favorite debut release this year has to be from the Welsh-American band Drowners. This is their self-titled album, it just came out this year, and it is incredible. It is honestly so good, I can't even put it into words. Imagine if the Smiths and the Strokes had a love child with, like, each other, and then throw in Arctic Monkeys, whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not era, and that's what you get, basically. But my favorite thing about Drowners is they still maintain originality, despite, like, when I first listened I was like, oh yeah, you know, the guitars really sound like, you know, like the Smiths and whatnot, and then like he's really got like sort of a Julian Casablanca style voice. But despite all that, it's something fresh, it's something new, and it's something really original. And I honestly can't stop listening to it. I picked the album up sort of on a whim. I'd seen it on like Billboard online and like on the internet and stuff. The cover art's pretty unique and pretty interesting, so that's where I kind of heard about it, and then I just sort of picked up the album on vinyl because it was cheap, and like, best decision ever because it's amazing. Like I said about the 1975 last year, it's one of those debut albums that's like, it's so good, but then it sets like the platform, and it's like, oh, this band could only get better, you know? And I know it's scary to say that about bands who, you know, flunk after their debut, but I honestly feel like the same with, I've not gotten excited about a band yet this year, a new band, except for Drowners. They're probably the most exciting band in the sort of indie rock scene, I guess, at the moment, in my opinion. And if you, again, haven't listened to their album, it's incredible, and it's worth a listen. It's sort of like dive bar, like scuzzy little bar, like indie rock, really, like Arctic Monkeys, whatever people say I am era. Like, it's got that European influence, but it still sounds original, and it still sounds unique, and it still is amazingly incredible, and I guess that's true art, because, I mean, similar, it's been influenced obviously by many others before it, but still maintains originality, and still sounds new, and still sounds exciting. Alright, so probably my third final favorite release that's really stood out for me in 2014 is Modern Baseball's You're Gonna Miss It All. Now this album, again, is like really amazing. It's really amazing. But it's just one of those albums, like, it sounds like it should be from a different generation. Like, it sounds like sort of a 90s pop punk, like, soundtrack to a shitty high school party, you know, in the 90s with everyone in like their mullets and their shitty varsity jackets. Maybe high school was like that, I really don't know. But that's really what it is to me. It's just sort of like all these like relatable, angsty sort of anthems. And even if you're not a teenager anymore nowadays, I still think you can listen to this album and still, you know, really relate to it, or still find like, oh yeah, I remember when I was an angsty teenager. I remember when I felt that way, or whatever. A lot of people I've seen again on YouTube, of course, I don't read actual music critics, I read YouTube critics. If you have a shitty opinion and you post it on the internet, you must know everything about music. Reading one, some people don't like the voice, some people don't like that kind of like droll that the lead singer has in his voice. I don't know, I think it's really unique, I think it's really amazing. And yeah, Modern Baseball, you're gonna miss it all. It's their second album, you gotta check it out too before the year's over. Believe it or not, 2 other releases that really stood out to me this year were from boy bands. I want to talk about that for a second. People who hate sort of on One Direction and 5 Seconds of Summer, who, you know, arguably are really big boy bands at the moment, I think they're full of shit, honestly, because these kids are actually talented, and like, if you hate on them, I think you're just jealous, honestly. And I'm not like one of those fangirls that's like, oh, I'm gonna protect my babies. No, I'm not like that. I'm just saying, like, hate sort of like unrationalized towards these lads. I don't know, they seem like good kids living their dreams. Yeah, they're making a shit ton of money, more than me or you probably will ever make in our entire lives. But anyway, I think hate equals jealousy when it comes to these bands. I mean, they're all decently attractive guys too. It's like, what's the hate, really? They're just making catchy, harmless pop songs. Music doesn't always have to be like Shakespearean soliloquies and in-depth and like everything. It can be just about chasing after a girl, or it's just harmless, kind of almost relatable pop songs again. And people that hate pop music must be pretty miserable because it's pretty harmless, it's pretty fun, and it's pretty careless. So, gotta love how I have the boy bands on vinyl. Alright, so 5 Seconds of Summer. This is their self-titled. It's the Record Store Day Black Friday picture disc. I don't get how people hate it. It's honestly, I think, one of the best releases this year, personally myself. Like, again, I don't know if it's going to be timeless or not. Like, the other albums I've talked about for me are going to be timeless. I'm going to listen to them and I'm going to come back and I'm going to be like, feel the same as I did when I first heard them. But this album is just really, you know, if this is how pop punk or whatever, if you're, don't freak out at me for calling 5 Seconds of Summer pop punk remotely, because I mean they are more pop than anything. But if this is how it's gonna come back to the radio with like teenagers who are making music and like wearing their Green Day shirts, wearing their Blink-182 shirts, like, so be it. Like, I don't have a problem with that. It's a really good album. I mean, I know they've had a lot of help from writers and whatnot. But that's the same with One Direction. They had a lot of help, and I think their 4th album that came out this year, they wrote a lot of the stuff themselves, and I think it's really shown a mature growth. And I'm going to get to that in a minute, but I really think 5 Seconds of Summer are ones to watch, honestly, and if pop punk, if you want to call it that, if you hate on me, whoa. If that's how it's going to come back to the radio, let these guys do it. I don't care. I think it's just simple, fun, harmless pop music about girls and teenage adolescence, and I think it's great. It's summery anthems, sort of scream the words in your car with your friends and just have a good time. It's, if you can't have fun when you listen to music, if it has to all be like philosophical and if you have to be like dissecting it and relating to every word, then it's not really enjoyable. You have to just sometimes just let go and have your guilty pleasures if you want, and they happen to be one of mine. So, and while I'm still on the topic of boy bands, I'll bring up One Direction's 4. Like I was saying with 5 Seconds of Summer, despite One Direction, you know, being like one of those pop artists that they, you know, they have a lot of their stuff written for them or whatever, I was looking at the track listings and the credits, and honestly, they did a lot of the writing themselves, and it's a really great album. It's, you know, again, it's harmless pop music, but it's shown a lot of growth from their previous releases. It's sort of like an evolving saga, and like, I don't know how long these guys will be around for. I mean, I heard their contract runs out next year, so who knows, this could be their last album or whatever. I hope not, but it's just really, I've been watching them since they were on the X Factor in the UK, and It's honestly amazing to think that this is the same band that released, you know, Up All Night, you know, What Makes You Beautiful, all those like kind of cliche pop songs, but it's really just sort of harmless sing along in your car to pop songs. And again, if you hate One Direction, I don't see why, because they can all sing really well and they're richer than you'll ever be, so like, I don't know. I know I'm not really going in depth with all the tracks, there's not a lot of depth to the music, but again, like I've been saying, music doesn't have to be deep for it to be good, necessarily. It just has to sound good and it just has to appeal to you, really, so. Another great pop release this year was Maroon 5's V. No, I'm just kidding, I don't really like it. But I mean, Adam Levine could literally release an album where he just like screams for the entire album and I'd still buy it because I am that crazy about Adam Levine. Tracks like Animals and stuff, again, are just like radio-friendly pop songs that if you can't jam to or get down to, I feel really sorry for you. It's not their best release, but I'm one of those people that thinks their old stuff was their best, so. Frank Iero and The Celebration. This is their debut album. Frank Iero was a guitarist in My Chemical Romance. Anyway, La Dispute, Rooms of the House, Real Friends, and their debut full-length, Maybe This Place Is the Same, We're Just Changing, Fireworks, and their second album, Oh Common Life. In terms of 2015, I don't really have any, I have a lot of anticipated releases that haven't actually been confirmed yet. Probably the only one that comes to mind is what? Yeah, so I'm really excited for new Fall Out Boy, brand new, obviously. Hopefully I'm releasing an album sometime, who the fuck knows really, with brand new. Blink-182, Pierce the Veil, I guess. There's a lot more stuff again coming out, and Wonder Years perhaps, I've heard. Yeah, it's exciting, and I'm looking forward very much to 2015. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm probably going to make way more videos in 2015. So if you enjoyed it, please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, all that usual what YouTubers tell you to do, even if you don't want to. I hope everyone had a really great Christmas, and best wishes to all of you in the new year. Yeah, 2015 shaping up to be good, so I'm really excited. Thanks for watching.